Hi, second graders. It's Miss Stratemeyer here again. This is going to be a little bit different this week because I'm just trying to spruce it up and keep you guys as excited as I'm trying to stay in my house while I'm missing you. So last week we read a full book. This week and next week, I'm going to chunk a book into two parts. That way we can practice two kind of different strategies that you have worked on with your second grade teachers before. So to get started, I thought we would do some of the words that you would normally be doing in school, but since we're not there, I wanted to work on them so that they can stick inside your mind and get into your memory, and they'll be words that you'll be able to spell and understand forever, okay? First word, and we're gonna do some strategies to kind of keep it in our mind, is the word always. And parents, if you're watching, these are some good strategies to do at home too. So first, what I want you to do is spell read and then spell read. So you can do it with me now. A-L-W-A-Y-S, always. Again, A-L-W-A-Y-S, always. Like she always eats my snack. Now, to get it in our mind, we like to do some sort of big movement. That way, our all the parts of our brain can be working at the same time to make it stick in our memory. So we're going to try something today where we're going to punch up like this as we say each of the letters so that it can stick in our brains. So for always, are you ready? I'll stick it right, let's see, I'll put it right here so you can see it while we spell. Ready? A-L-W-A-Y-S, two hands, what's the word? Always. One more time. A-L-W-A-Y-S, always. Good, perfect. All right, another word that we're gonna work on. And this one I see misspelled all the time, so it's good to get it in our mind. This one says because, spell read, B-E-C-A-U-S-E, because. One more time, B-E-C-A-U-S-E, because. All right, I'm gonna stick it right here. This time we're gonna play a hand clapping game. So as we say the letter, I want you to give me your hand, and at the end, we'll do two hands to say the word. Ready? B-E-C-A-U-S-E, because. Good. One more time. B-E-C-A-U-S-E, because. Perfect. All right, last one we're going to work on. This word is around, and I hear that schwa sound at the beginning. Instead of ah. Good. Let's spell A-R-O-U-N-D, around. One more time. A-R-O-U-N-D, around. I wish I could be around you all right now. All right, for this one, we're going to do some big body movements. So for this one, I want you to pretend like you're kicking the soccer ball. Kick, kick, dribble, 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 and then shoot it in the net. You ready? Let's do it. I'll hang it here so you can see it again. Ready? A-R-O-U-N-D, score a goal. Around. Good. One more time. A-R-O-U-N-D, score a goal. Around. Perfect. And moms and dads, grandmas, grandpas, if you are watching, that is a great strategy. Any of those to make it a little more fun and just to help those kids get those high frequency words in their mind so that when they're spelling it, they're spelling correctly. Okay, so like I told you, this week I'm actually going to split the book into two parts so that we can practice some additional strategies and so that it's not so much that you're watching all at once. So the book that we're going to read today is called The Table Where Rich People Sit. And this is a really awesome text to teach good lessons. And I always think right now, in a time we're in, it's always nice if you're reading something that can teach you a lesson and something that you can apply in your own life. So what is our job while we read and after we read today? So we're going to recount. Remember, that's like retell with lots of details in order. So recount stories, including fables and folk tales from diverse cultures to determine their central message, lesson, or moral. So this learning goal today already tells me that my story is going to be fictional because it is a fable or a folk tale, something that is made up from diverse cultures that maybe has been passed down orally from generations and generations, but that teaches us some kind of good lesson. And I know you all have read some fables and folktales this year, so this will be perfect to go along with our goals. So let me slide this over just so I can get into the screen a little bit more. Are we ready? Okay. The Table Where Rich People Sit. Now, what do you think this book's going to be about? Kind of hard to tell because this drawing is a little more abstract. Okay, hopefully you told a grown-up at home, or you told me, or maybe a stuffed animal you have next to you. All right, let's get started. The Table Where Rich People Sit by Bird Baylor, pictures by Peter Parnell. If you could see us sitting here at our old, scratched up, homemade kitchen table, you'd know that we aren't rich. But my father is trying to tell us we are. Doesn't he notice my worn out shoes? Or that my little brother has patches on the pants he wears to first grade? And why does he think that old rattletrap truck is parked by our door? You can't fool me, I say. We're poor. Would rich people sit at a table like this? My mother sort of pats the table and she says, well, we're rich and we sit here every day. Sometimes I think that I'm the only one in my whole family who is really sensible. Maybe I should mention that my parents made this table out of lumber somebody else threw away. They even had a celebration when they finished it. Understand, I like this table just fine. All I'm saying is you can tell it didn't come from a furniture store. It just doesn't look like a table where rich people would sit. But my mother thinks if all the rulers of the world could get together at a friendly wooden table in somebody's kitchen, they would solve their arguments in half the time. And my father says it wouldn't hurt to have a lot of cookies piled up on a nice blue plate that everyone could reach without asking. But tonight, it's our kitchen and our argument and our family meeting and our very spicy ginger cookies piled up on my mother's one good blue flowered plate, exactly in the center of our table. I'm the one who called the meeting, and the subject is money. And I say we don't have enough of it. I tell my parents they should both get better jobs so we could buy a lot of nicer new things. I tell them I look worse than anyone in school. I hate to bring this up, I say, but it would help if you both had a little more ambition. They look surprised. You can see they never think about the things we need. Right here, I might as well as admit that my parents have some strange ideas about working. They think the only jobs worth having are jobs outdoors. They want cliffs or canyons or desert or mountains around them wherever they work. They even want a good view of the sky. They always work together, and their favorite thing is panning gold. Piling us into that beat up truck and heading for the rocky desert hills or back in some narrow mountain gully where all the roads are just coyote trails. They love to walk the wide streams and dry stream beds where little flecks of gold are found. They used to tell us the truck just knew which road to take them and that coyotes showed them where to look for gold. But I never did believe it. After a month or two out there, they always had a little bit of gold to sell. But you can tell it never made us rich. As far as I can see, it was just an excuse to camp in some beautiful wild place again. They don't mind planting fields of sweet corn or alfalfa. They like to pick chili and squash and tomatoes. They'll put up strong fences or train wild young horses. But they say they can't stand to be cooped up indoors. So now, of course, my dad is asking how many people are as lucky as we are. But I've called this meeting and I say, I bet you could make more money working in a building somewhere in town. Remember our number one rule, he says. We have to see the sky. You could look through a window, I say, but they won't even think about it. Do you see what I mean about being the sensible one? Okay, so before we move on, it seems that the little girl has a different perspective than her parents do. And she says a lot about her parents' ambition. So, right now, while we're all cooped up inside and staying away from all the things that we love, the beautiful parks and being out in nature, I think sometimes we do take it for granted the fact that we can go out and enjoy ourselves and see all of our friends. So, the parents' perspective here, I think, is really cool. But in addition, the little girl is really frustrated about money. And that's another thing that people are really worried about right now. So I'm hoping that this book can bring us some joy and some peace and something that it might teach us about that word money. So let's see what happens. Finally, my mother says, "All right, mountain girl, we're going to explain how we figure out our money. You be the bookkeeper tonight." She hands us each a pencil and some yellow paper. She gives some to my little brother too, though he'll just sit there pretending to write when we write, or he'll draw people dancing up in the sky. And by the way, my name's not really Mountain Girl. They call me that because I was born in a cabin on the side of a mountain when they were looking for gold, one summertime back in Arizona. They say it was the most magical place, the most beautiful mountain. Maybe it was, but you know how those two exaggerate. Anyway, they wanted my first sight to be that mountainside, so they held me up outdoors at sunrise when I was just about 8 minutes old. The truth is, I still like sunrise quite a lot. And my little brother, they call him Ocean Boy. They say since I already had the best mountain for my first sight, they thought they ought to find the most beautiful ocean for him. I think they went all over Mexico looking for a place where ocean touches jungle, and they had to find a certain kind of purple blue night sky and the exact green waves they like. They held him up to see those waves for his first sight. Someday we're all going back to his green ocean and my high mountain. But for now, even though they claim to be so rich, they can't take us anywhere at all. No wonder I had to call this meeting about money. Can you believe my father is sitting here looking me straight in the eye and saying, "But Mountain Girl, I thought you knew how rich we are." I say, "We can't even get very far in this discussion if you won't even admit that we're poor." "I'll prove it to you right now," he says. "Let's make a list of the money we earn in a year." "How much is that?" I ask. "I'll write it down." But he says, "Not so fast. We have a lot of things to think about before we add them up." "What kind of things?" My mother says, "We don't just take our pay in cash, you know. We have a special plan so we get paid in sunsets too, and in having time to hike around canyons and look for eagle nests." But I say, "Can't you give me one single number to write down on this paper?" So we start with $20,000. That's how much my father says it's worth it to him to work outdoors, where he can see the sky all day long and feel the wind and smell the rain an hour before it's really raining. He says it's worth that much to be where, if he feels like singing, he can sing out loud and no one will mind. I have just written down 20,000 when my mother says, "You'd better make that 30,000 because it's worth at least another 10 to hear the coyotes howling back in the hills." So I write 30,000. Then she remembers that they like to see long distances and faraway mountains that change color about 10 times a day. "That's worth another $5,000 to me," she says. I'm not surprised because my mother claims to be an expert on mountain shadows in the desert. She says she can tell time by the way those colors change from dawn to dark. I scratch out what I had and write $35,000. My father thinks of something else. When a cactus blooms, you should be there to watch it because it might be a color you won't ever see again any other day. How much would you say that color's worth? 50 cents, my brother asks. But they decide on another 5,000. So now I write $40,000. But I'd forgotten how much my father likes to make bird sounds. He can copy any bird, but he's best at white-winged doves and ravens and red-tailed hawks. He's good at eagles too and great horned owls. So of course he has to add another 10,000 for having both day birds and night birds around us. I crossed out what I had and I write our life is worth $50,000. All right, so this is where we're going to stop for week 1 or part 1. So what I want you to do is go back into the read aloud, go back if you need to and pause and write down your notes, but I want you to think of what types of things are valuable to this family. So the mom and dad are sharing some things that they think are worth thousands of dollars that this family has that maybe other families do not have. I want you to come up with 3 things from the book, text evidence, 3 pieces of text evidence or details that show what are the parents in this story thankful for. That'll be posted right below the link for this video so that if you need to go back in the video, you can do so. And then you're just going to have to come back next week to see what happens with Mountain Girl and the table where rich people sit. See you next week. Can't wait to read your responses.